sign of a well-made paella is the consistency of the rice. It's not easy coaxing texture and depth of flavor from these little grains. So now I've started browning the chicken. These are chicken thighs. I marinated the chicken thighs in 1 tablespoon of paprika and 2 tablespoons of olive oil just to get this great color started. There's plenty of olive oil in the pan. This is pork that is cut into 1-inch squares. Let this sizzle and cook, stirring it. Keep the heat regulated. You're going to keep regulating the heat up and down so that everything gets cooked appropriately. First the meat, then I'm just cutting an X in my tomato. I peeled and seeded most of my tomatoes. Just do that. Put this into boiling water just for like a minute until the skin loosens. Snails, believe it or not, were once the most commonly used meat in the Valencian paella as they were cheap. For special occasions, they added rabbit or duck, but nowadays you can have chicken, you can have pork, you can have all kinds of fish, lobster. Delicious things can go into a paella. Okay, this tomato is ready to take out. I'll let it go into ice water for a second. Paella, the name, comes from the Latin word patella, which means pan. And it's from this word that the Valencian word paella is derived. Your vegetables, your fish, everything should be in small bowls ready to add to the paella before you start cooking. Now here's our tomato. I cut it in half this way. And you see there are seeds. Just use a spoon or your finger to take the seeds out of the tomato. Chop up your tomato. All the pieces should be approximately the same size. And now add your onion all over. This is 1 large white onion, a Spanish onion for the paella. 2 tablespoons of finely chopped garlic over the whole thing. It is looking so gorgeous. And you'll see as you layer this, it just gets more and more beautiful. Now the tomatoes. These will start to exude some of their tomato juice. The peppers. 1 red pepper cut into slices. This has been seeded. 1 green pepper, same thing. Seeded and sliced. Already a pretty picture. So this will take about 5 to 8 minutes, depending on the temperature. So pretty. A little sprinkling of salt, a little bit of black pepper. We want a really, really flavorful paella. It's just an art to make one beautiful. Now you can add your squid. This is 1 1/4 pounds of calamari, and spread this around. This should be fresh, not frozen. This starts to firm up almost immediately upon reaching some heat here. And we have 12 jumbo shrimp. I'm going to add these by hand. These are beautiful. Now, shrimp don't take a long time to cook, but this is the right time to add them to your paella. Now, while this is cooking up, in a bowl, you're going to add cognac, about 1/3 of a cup of cognac, 1 1/2 teaspoons of salt, and 2 teaspoons of saffron, which you grind in a mortar and pestle. Now, as you hear, I'll add a tiny bit of salt here. It does help with the grinding. Add this to your cognac. The liquid takes on a beautiful, beautiful pinkish yellow color. This is going to make this the paella valenciana that we're looking for. Now to your cognac, add 1 scoop of hot chicken broth. All of this chicken broth is going to be added to the paella once the rice is added. As you watch me do this, I hope that you're thinking, wow, this is a dish that I can make. It's a great Christmas Eve dish for a party. It is a great summertime dish. 1 1/2 pounds of short-grained white rice. This is short-grained rice, specifically grown for dishes like this, paella, to be cooked in a paella pan. Now stir this a little bit. The rice starts to saute. It gets a little opaque. And what's going to happen is that the rice gets a little crusty on the bottom of the pan. And that crustiness is called a sokora. And sokora, if your paella doesn't have it, well, it's not a paella. Okay, so this is looking extremely good. I'm now going to add my saffron, cognac, salt, and chicken stock mixture. And from here, your rice will start to plump up, get tender. I'm just going to add maybe another little bit of stock. You want to have enough so that it absorbs into the rice. And now I'm going to sprinkle on the green peas. We have a few more things to tuck into here. Every time I make it, it's a challenge to believe that it's going to actually fit all in this paella pan. And tuck in your shellfish. We're using clams and mussels that have been well scrubbed. If you were going to add lobsters, you would do those pretty much now too. But this pan wouldn't be big enough for all of this plus lobster. So get a slightly bigger pan. So a few little tips for you. Short-grained rice is characterized by fat, almost round grains that have a higher starch content than the long grain or medium-grained rice. And when it's cooked, it becomes quite moist and viscous, causing the grains to stick together. Other short-grained rices grown in Spain have a unique capacity to absorb large amounts of broth. That's the rice we're using here. And it's starting to get plump and starting to cook nicely. So now I'm adding the mussels. Make sure the mussels, if that's open like that, you don't want it. They have to be tightly closed, well-scrubbed mussels. And your mussels should be kept icy cold until they go into the paella. And the last vegetable, string beans. These are pre-cooked. I already blanched these. And these are haricots verts. You can use regular string beans, golden string beans, whatever you choose. Is your mouth watering yet? Are you drooling? It's important not to stir the paella near the very end of this process because you want the rice to start sticking to the bottom of the pan to create that sokora, which is the sign of a well-made paella. Garnish, we have parsley, lemon wedges,